My name is Richard Phillips. I'm the head of the Latin American collection here at the University of Florida Libraries. I've been a librarian for like 38 years. I mean, it's a long time. Working at UF for like nearly 29 years.
How did you kind of get involved like at UF with La Casita?
About 20-something years ago, I remember there was a student, Vanessa Carlo was her name. So anyway, Vanessa one time came to me and said, a group of students, we would like to have a meeting. Could we have a meeting here? And I said, certainly. So every Tuesday night for a while, the group was meeting here, and I understood it was the Hispanic Student Association or something like that. This is over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So as the semester, or my mind to remember all this with great detail is not too precise, but I do remember that after a while there was a lot of excitement because it was announced that the university would be providing a formal building, a headquarters, which is what is called today La Casita, that grew out of those meetings. And I remember there was a lot of excitement and people were really very, very happy about this. And so that's some of my earliest recollections. Now, I do remember when it was finally dedicated, opened and dedicated, and that may have been a few months later or something like that. And there was, on the front porch of La Casita, which is just really kind of across the street from here, a lot of ceremonies, and I went over there, and certainly Vanessa Carlo gave a talk, a very emotional talk, and it was really quite a great event. And I'm trying to remember her exact phrase. She said something like, "Oh, viajero, aquí estamos, llegando en casa." So I think the fact that the Hispanic Student Association was able to organize itself in those times and then get this kind of recognition from the university to commit like a whole building, and it's a beautiful building, to actually do that, probably gave them a real sense of achievement, a sense of pride, and that continues today, there's no doubt about it, with the growth of the Hispanic Heritage Month and all the activities that focus in and out of that building, La Casita. So it's really become like a super active center, cultural center, and that kind of thing. From my point of view, the fact that Florida, La Florida, was part of the Imperio Colonial Español. It was, like 500 years ago, excuse me, part of the Audiencia de la Habana. Florida has deep, deep ties to Latin America and the Caribbean. From those earliest days of San Agustino, 15, whatever it was, 1580 or something. Everybody's been there and seen that Castillo de San Marcos. And, if you look at a map, Florida is certainly part of the Caribbean, part of Latin America, the way it projects away from North America into the southern areas there. This is really something that is a recognition of UF and Florida's deep ties to Latin America and the Caribbean. So all of this is very logical. Now, I don't know the equations of who gets what money or whatever, but at the same time, the fact that the Hispanic, Latina students here are effective in organizing themselves and getting things done, well, good for them. The others should get that way too.
La Casita has done really positive things for students, for faculty, for the university as a whole. I know it was built because this university didn't have a safe space for minority students such as the Hispanic community. So a group of students came together to lobby and try to fight for a safe space for them. And through efforts of like trying to get faculty on board, administration, other students, they were able to get la casita. I think that we're actually the only home in like the southeast, like a similar program or like house like this for Hispanic, specifically for Hispanic students. But there are other places like La Casita in the United States.
Right.
But you know, my goal would be to definitely create other safe spaces for our community or for other minority communities throughout Florida and throughout the United States, because I feel like everyone deserves to feel this way. Everyone deserves to feel like the way I do at home with friends. Especially coming to Gainesville, I feel like we lose touch of our culture. But La Casita has allowed us to stay in touch with it and to further learn about it. And it wasn't until I left Miami and came to Gainesville and worked at La Casita that I actually became more in tune with my identity as a Latina. In Gainesville, I actually embraced my Hispanic background because of La Casita. So not only has it allowed me to grow deeper into like my identity and learn who I am regarding my Hispanic background and my Cuban background, but it's even influenced me in my career goals. Like my first semester here, I felt like there were so many organizations, so many clubs, so many people on campus, and I didn't have my place, you know. And when you don't feel like you belong somewhere, it's hard to, you know, be proud to be a Gator, be proud to be, you know, at UF, because you just don't feel welcome. You don't feel
at home.
I'm sorry?
At home.
At home, exactly. After 12th grade, if you don't have documentation, you have to pay international fees when you go to a university. And so that's what we're trying to fix. We think that, you know, everyone deserves like the equal access to education, and these students are having to pay 4 times as much just for tuition alone is ridiculous. I think the hardest thing to overcome is probably always feeling different. So like always feeling like you're a minority and feeling like you have to go above and beyond and like succeed way more than your peer just to prove yourself. We want everyone to know that this is like an open space for anyone, regardless of like race or ethnicity or sexual identification, anything. So anyone's open to come to La Casita. If at any point, you know, someone would, or the university would want to take away La Casita, like we'll be here, you know, standing right in front of the door and like protesting and saying like this is our home and this is the home for like future students, and that nobody should or will take it away from us.
Alright, my name is Castillo. I'm a third-year sport management major from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, born in Colombia. Just exactly what it says, the little house, you know? It's a home away from home for not just Hispanics, but minorities in general. You can study there, you know, there's people you can talk to, you can relax, you know.
Yeah.
There's always a support system, which is important, especially for minorities. I have a lot of friends that are involved with La Casita.
Yeah.
And I know that, man, they have my back for everything.
Right.
And especially the new director, she's amazing. I had the pleasure of meeting her a couple times, and she looks like she's fun. She's having a good time being here. She's excited about things, and you know, that's always a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Have a great face for representing us. With La Casita, that was primarily through any immigration type of events. Specifically with Chispas, I know they focus a lot on immigration, and myself as well. So when they would have some upcoming events or things they might need help with and whatnot, I'm not officially a member of Chispas, But when it comes to immigration, I'm a big person. Last year in the fall, they had like a roundtable discussion, people telling their stories and just letting people aware that it's a real issue facing regular students like myself. And I wanted to speak out on that. When I first came on campus, Summer B, they had me as an international student, even though I've been living in Florida since I was 3 years old. So 17 years I've been here. And just because of my lack of documentation, they had me as international and I had to pay out-of-state tuition. So for like 2 classes, it was like $8,000 for the summer, which is ridiculous. So I faced that at first. That was a tough thing to deal with because it was if it wasn't fixed, then I probably wouldn't be here.
Right.
I've always been proud.
Right.
I've always been happy. Like, man, I'm Hispanic. You know, you have the best food, all that kind of good stuff, the dancing. But then, you know, facing all these things and seeing how all these issues have been so big, especially lately with the whole DREAM Act, DECA, deferred action. It made me realize how happy I am to be one of those people. Even though that we face all these things, it makes me even more proud of the fact that I'm blessed to be here and that I have the opportunity to do something. It takes my pride to a whole other level. You know, I love being a part of the Hispanic, unity and doing everything for our people and representing our ancestors, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
And what better way to do it through throwing events? Yeah, don't be afraid to be who you are.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
That's it.
Yeah, you might be going through a lot of things, but the person right next to you might be going through it as well. But it takes one person to speak out and make a difference. Get involved, meet people, tell your story. Even if you were born here, even if you were raised just perfectly with everything you need, still there's something that I think everybody has to share. Yeah, take every opportunity you have here to make a difference.
My name is Yarelis Mendez Zamora. I was born and raised in Miami to a not Cuban family, but a Nica family. My family's from Nicaragua. So I was completely immersed in my culture. I don't think that as a child, my mother ever cooked something that was Nicaragüense. I grew up on gallo pinto, queso frito, platanitos. I grew up on quesillos. So I come from a very large family. And I am the second youngest of 10 siblings.
Wow.
So a lot of I grew up with a lot of siblings, obviously. And I remember that as a child, my house was never without Spanish. My house was never without Spanish music. And because my family was involved during the revolution, I grew up hearing stories about the revolution. And so I want to say that influenced my wanting to be an advocate for my Hispanic community.
Sure.
I knew from a child that that's what I liked.
So we're kind of reconstructing your timeline here. So you were, encouraged to go to college from a young age. You completed your application. And what was it like when you got accepted, for you and for your family?
I remember that I was super happy that I got into UF. My brothers who immigrated from Nicaragua over here, actually, they came when they were a little bit older. They were going to Miami-Dade. But I was the first one who ever decided to go away from Miami. I was the first one who decided to step out. It was very, very hard to think about leaving Miami behind. It was very hard to think about the fact that I would soon not be having home cooked meals 24/7.
Sure.
That I would not, be seeing my family. I was the only one out of my friends from Miami that went to La Casita. Everybody else was like intimidated, like, do I go in, do I not go in? And I was just like, that's it, I'm gonna walk in and that's it.
Yeah.
And when I walked in, I remember hearing the Spanish music, the smell of coffee. And, before the renovations, it really did look like a little viejita house. And I remember like the pastel colors and the carpet. And somebody saying, welcome to La Casita. And I was like, this is it. We're good.
Sure.
We're good. Like, I was super excited to be senior. At the same time that it was exhilarating and I was scared, but I was happy. But I was like, oh, nervous. Like, am I going to be a great leader? And, I talked it over with one of my friends who has seen me grow in La Casita. It's just like, you're going to do great. And I remember that I went to La Casita and I just felt, just walking in, felt so much better about myself. And then, I talked to Stephanie about it, and it was definitely a place for affirmation. But I want to say La Casita has also taught me how to be a leader. It's taught me to step out of my comfort zone and get involved. Get down and dirty when you need to get down and dirty. Protest when you need to protest. But also open up dialogue.
My name is Agassi Rodriguez. I'm currently a third-year public relations major here at UF. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. I am of Cuban descent. Both my parents immigrated here from Cuba when they were young. I was born in Miami, so I'm first generation here as well. I definitely think it's important for Hispanic students to have a place where they can just go and they can speak Spanglish and no one will give them a funny look, where if a salsa song comes on the radio, they can jam out. I know that's happened more than one occasion on my part. But I think it's really important that Hispanic students have a place, a physical representation of their culture. Like I said, with all the events La Casita does, that's where everything is. It's like, where's that event? Oh, of course, La Casita. Where can I get free printing? La Casita. It's my home. I need to take a nap. I go to La Casita. I want free coffee. I go to La Casita. I need to print out something. I go to La Casita. I have 20 minutes to kill and I don't know where else to go and I just want to talk. I go to La Casita and I talk with the ambassadors. No one there ever turns anyone away. It's definitely that place where I can go be myself, where if I say Dale, no one will say who's Dale, or if I say, oh my god, tremendo roco mango, people will understand what I'm saying, not rice and mangoes? Ew. I don't know. It's just a place where I can go be me. Higher education definitely is a way out. Not just for myself, but I feel like for the entire Hispanic community, just because a lot of times we have a very negative stigma of being lazy, of being educated. We have this public image of we're all farm workers, we're all laborers, and that's not true. We have artists, we have poets, we have musicians, we have thinkers, we have movers, we have shakers. We have everything to offer, and it's just higher education is the pathway to be taken seriously in a way. I probably have to say, find where you belong. Probably. I think that we as humans, that is what we crave for, that is what we look for always. We always look for that one place where we can be ourselves, whether it be a physical representation like La Casita, whether that be a group of friends, whether that be an organization, whether that be a Greek organization, whether that be at a job, whether that be wherever, volunteering, internship. It's that one place or multiple places where they feel like they're welcomed, where they're expected, where they're loved. And my advice would be find that place early and stick to it. Everyone needs that positive affirmation. Everyone needs the place where people say, where have you been? We were worried about you. You haven't been here so long. When you find the people who belong with you, it's like you're home. Because those people are going to be the ones who push you, who take you to your limit, who push you past that limit, who will drive you insane, who will piss you off, who will make you feel more loved than you've ever been loved before. And that's what people need. At the end of the day, that support system, that network is important. You can't do anything by yourself. As much as you'd like to think that you can survive school just getting by, not talking to anybody, not getting involved, you can't. Because what's coming to UF and trying to have the UF experience of being a Gator if you're not going to get involved, if you're not going to find your niche, if you're not going to make that group of friends you're going to take with you after you graduate. You know, honestly, it all goes back to personal growth. Like, that's the biggest advice I can give to future Latino Gators, just because whether it be getting involved with one organization or whether it be like me and getting involved 4 or 5, find what you're passionate about, find what you want to do, but find it early, because 4 years flies by. You don't have all the time in the world to honestly do all the things you think you're going to do. So find what you're passionate about, find where you belong, and stick to it.
My name is Carmen Lopez Ramirez. I'm a third-year international studies major, focusing on Latin America and the Caribbean. I first started doing more work with Florida Opportunity Scholars because I am one, and I felt that it was so necessary for me to give back to a program that's essentially allowing me this opportunity, you know, to be in college. So I thought that the best way I could give back was to be a mentor for other first-year students, because my mentor was great. So that's what I wanted to do. Now I'm working with a general group of students, but I've focused mainly in the past with first-generation students. So I really got to see myself in these students. I really got, by talking to them, by seeing what their struggles are as first-year students, I've gotten to realize a lot of things, that it's not just me. I'm getting to know more what it means to be, you know, Latina in a community where we are truly a minority. I'm originally from Guatemala, so I moved there with my family when I was really young, and so I grew up in Miami. I went to schools that were either mostly minority or, you know, very, very heavily, you know, Hispanic or Latino. Getting here, I really did identify with being first generation because it was just the immediate label. But the more I got into, you know, talking to my mentors, the more I got into getting involved with HSA, with Hispanic Heritage Month especially, I learned that that's a bigger part of my identity, and that's something that I really want to keep. That's another thing that really has kind of had an impact, just because I am Latina, is my name. And the fact that I really had to Americanize it so that others can have an easier time to pronounce it. It's different because if I go to La Casita and I announce myself as Carmen, like, nobody's gonna give me, you know, a weird stare. I always have that option that I can be fully Latina. From the very beginning, the point of La Casita was for it to be a home away from home. It's me going in sometime in the morning or mid-afternoon, putting my things down on one of the tables, saying good morning everyone, or good afternoon, walking into Olivia's office saying hi. And when it was Dr. Castillo, you know, the same thing, walking in saying hi, and then looking for, you know, a free mug that was, you know, clean, pouring myself a cup of coffee, and sitting down and just relaxing, because it's just in a perfect location. The sun is shining in and it's just on the table, so it's perfect. The chairs are comfortable, and when they leave the door open, there's this beautiful breeze. I'm making it sound very dreamy, but that's really what it feels like. When I don't have my parents to comfort me, when I don't have my parents to help me out with something that's going on in school, there's always someone at La Casita who can help. I think one of the best things I've done at La Casita was take a nap randomly in the middle of the day at like 3 p.m. because I was exhausted. It really does feel like I just walked into my house and, you know, said hi to my family and just relaxed. I have personally felt like I am at home. I want to continue being an educator. Hopefully outside of the classroom. I really do want to work with programs that are supplements to what students are learning in the classroom. There are those supplemental activities and sessions and conferences and forums that really give students that push to want to succeed in the classroom and that want to make them go to college, and not only go to college but finish college.
My name is Anthony Darcy. I'm an architecture and French major. I'm 23. This is my 5th year at the University of Florida, and I am Hispanic background. I was born in Nicaragua. I first heard of La Casita attending Hispanic Student Association meetings. Everyone just kind of raved about it, about like this great place where like everyone can just kind of go and hang out and like, you know, meet new people and things like that. So as an incoming student to the University of Florida, being surrounded with over 50,000 people who may or may not be very similar to you. So it's always a challenge to kind of get to know new people and kind of know like the atmosphere and get a feel for what the campus is like. To the Hispanic Latino Student Assembly back my freshman year. You know, from there on I kind of knew more about the Hispanic Student Association, and then through them I was introduced to La Casita. They always made a point to emphasize it at their meetings, you know, to use it as a resource, and it indeed is a great resource. Everyone always talks about, you know, just go to free printing. You don't have to wait the long lines at the student government copy center or something like that. Those little kind of things that they offer that kind of draws you in, but it's definitely the people and the ambience that they create, the friendliness, and just an overall sense of security, I guess. Just for, especially for a new student, I felt like it was a place I can always go to. The doors were always open for me. If I ever needed something, you know, even just to make small talk with the person who was right next to me, it was always just a great thing to do and a nice break from, you know, those hectic days of school. It was a big struggle to kind of get it to where it is now. Latinos didn't feel like they had a place on campus that they can claim as their own. There was some opposition, and thankfully we were able to have one of the original founders for Hispanic Heritage that came in to speak at our closing ceremony for Hispanic Heritage Month. And there are people who really care about the Latino community here on campus, and that through their struggles and through the, you know, their fight and through just their dreams, you know, they were able to put something together for the rest of us to enjoy. I've seen La Casita grow from the time I've been here. You know, yes, they've had a change of directors here and there, but in a way, I think that was good because it always brought something new to the table. I'm only excited to see what Miss Olivia Garcia is going to bring to the table. La Casita has been a great support system for me throughout college. They've put on some great events, you know, that I feel like can identify with their target population, which is the Latino community here at the University of Florida. Whether it be financial workshops or advocacy, you know, talks with their Capacita series, they always bring something to the table that you can identify with, and they're always looking for what's next, as in what else we can do to help out our community. Present there all the time, but at least in the back of your mind, knowing that you have a place that is calling for you to take action. I think that has been, you know, a big reason for why I keep coming back. I've seen so many people go into La Casita and kind of claim that as their own. Really great to see, in the sense that, you know, you have people like ambassadors or people who are always have La Casita in mind to put together events and, you know, host meetings there, and just to kind of keep it busy and always keep it going. It's just great to see that people have such a deep care for it and are always willing to kind of work with them or work for them, help them put together events, and to kind of just keep the Latino community alive through there and kind of keep it as their home that no one else can take away from them. It's been one of the greatest things for me to have seen while my being in college. It's something that would be great for others to see once they enter here. So I just hope it stays here forever, until whenever, forever. Just because it's such a great place for people to kind of feel comfortable with and kind of feel ready after that point, you know, that they can do a lot here. Like I told you, it's a place where you feel welcomed in all the time, no matter whether you're Latino or not. You know, I hope that never changes. I'll always perceive La Casita as in the place where I kind of just walked in as a freshman student, lost and confused. And to know that It has always been there throughout my college years, and it's always been there as a kind of a reminder of like, this is where you're walking in through, and this is where you're going to walk out of one day after you leave here. To know that it will be there for generations to come, and it will be there for me to come visit, get a chance to come back. The idea that it's going to be there because there are people who truly care about it, and there are people who have really found a home there, a sense of community, a sense of unity there. It's something you can't take away.
My name is Gabby Alvarez, and I am a fourth-year philosophy major here at the University of Florida. So yeah, I'm the first to go away from home, leave Miami, and become a Gator. What it means to be college educated is kind of preparing yourself for being better than the generations before you. That's what it's all about. That's what everyone in my family strives to do. Being Cuban American is part of why I'm so determined. Failure is unacceptable.
Tell me a little bit about your involvement on campus with La Casita and the Hispanic Student Association.
The community values that come from being Hispanic kind of shaped what sort of extracurriculars I got involved in. It was very important for me to give back to the community. Well, the Hispanic Student Association, it's one of the first organizations I got involved in. I started off as a community service director, and I did that for 2 years. And then after that, I was corporate director, and I'm currently vice president of operations. It's been an extraordinary experience. It was the organization that exposed me to all other organizations, and it's the one that I would say taught me the most about leadership and what it takes to be a leader on campus. The other organization I got involved in pretty early on was HHM. After seeing HHM my freshman year, I knew I wanted to be a part of it. And so first year I was forum director, then closing ceremony director, and then this past fall I was the philanthropy director, which was absolutely fantastic. I got involved with La Casita also because that's our home away from home, and I had always come there like in between classes and after school, and I kind of wanted to give back to, I guess, the Institute of Hispanic and Latino Cultures, because they've given so much to all other Hispanic organizations on campus. We're pretty into advocacy. We're pretty into fighting for what we believe in. We have really strong values and beliefs, and we fight for them, and we fight against injustices. And La Casita in particular and HSA recently, they've become very advocacy strong. The most important thing is making sure to defend human rights and all the basic things that our ancestors came to this country for. One of the wonderful things about these organizations is that they reward you for being bold. I mean, if you have big dreams, if you have big ideas, you might not know how to do it, but the initiative is what counts, and you'll have a lot of people that are willing to help you do what you want to do.
What do you think is the importance of having places like La Casita and other multicultural institutions on campus?
I think the importance is for us to kind of have a base, in a sense, a place for us to go, a place where we're all sort of united. Like, Hispanic is a very complex thing. There's lots of different types of Hispanics, and we can all go there and call it home. It has this sort of spirit that unites us. One of the things we appreciate most is when people of other cultures appreciate our culture, and I mean, that's the entire point of all these organizations. It's not for us to remain ethnically pure, it's for us to be able to share our culture, traditions with all those that are not familiar with them.
What legacy or message would you like to leave behind for future students?
It's important that we show our pride for our culture by honoring it and becoming extraordinary individuals that are not only self-serving and come to this country to take advantage of opportunities, but that take those opportunities and not only help themselves, but give back to those around them and give back to their communities.
La Casita did help as far as finding the people who I'm still friends with to this day. History La Casita once I came on board with Hispanic Heritage Month. So I know that now they're going to celebrate their 20 years here on campus, which is actually something really big. Comes to think about where Hispanics were to where they are now, becoming the largest minority on campus. I feel like I say, there's a home away from home. They have resources there for students who are first generation, those who come from, Hispanic, Latino background. Sometimes it's really tough coming from, always being home and leaving home so far away to come to a place where you probably don't see familiar faces. So having a casita there actually does give you a sense of home, even if you are away from home. A lot of times, that's where we have our meetings for sub-organizations. They always have events for us. It's a place where you could go in between classes. Sometimes they offer, food. Sometimes they offer forums in between the days. So it's one of those, it's a lounge area as well. They offer, you could go there to study. It offers a lot of services as far as, also getting to know people. They have a listserv and a newsletter they send out weekly of things that maybe you should apply for, letting you know. So it helps you as far as getting one foot in and involved. I see that it's just one of those things that I always end up going there. I never really applied for anything within La Casita. Just because I also work as well, so between classes and working is one of those difficult things to juggle involvement. But it's always been there when we need meetings, or even for the Dominican School Association, which is something I'm also involved in. That's usually where we always have all our forums, or we have our meetings, and just the small gatherings that we do have. As far as Hispanic Heritage Month, actually came on board because of Genesis. Because we were involved together in the Dominican School Association.
Great.
So as far as having a greater vision to see, to bring Hispanic Heritage Month and celebrate the 20 years, it used to be Hispanic Awareness Week at first, and then 1993 it became a month-long celebration. And we have 8 main events. So it's consists of talent show, pageant. It's the largest student-run celebration in the nation. So that being said, it speaks volumes from the people that started back with just 1 week, and it was less faces that were familiar to what it is now. I don't think sometimes people take a step back to realize the differences in 20 years and how far it's come. In our closing ceremony, one of the people that helped have La Casita happen, she flew in from Washington, D.C., and she actually works still to this day, I guess, helping the Hispanic community. Where she started crying because she's like, I never realized the impact it will have. To hear that was a home away from home, she's like, that's exactly what we wanted. I really want people to take a look back and see what they're going to gain from college. You have all these choices as far as who you're going to be, what are you going to do? And I think everyone, if they have a passion, and they want to know who they are, like I said earlier, to know where you're going, to know where you come from. And I feel like UF has really helped me as far as identifying myself as, a Latina here on campus and what I'm going to do later on. If you have a vision, you can make it happen. And there's people that are always behind you. Even sometimes if you don't believe in yourself, they'll believe in it for you.
So my name is Yesi. I'm Cuban. I was born there in 1991. I came here when I was 3 on a motorboat with my mom. I grew up in Naples, Florida, which is 4 hours south from here. What we did was we went from Cuba, so we left Santa Cruz del Sur, and we went to Grand Cayman Islands. And then from Grand Cayman Islands, we went to Guantanamo Bay, so back to Cuba, but obviously it's a United States base. I still much identify with being Cuban, mostly because my family doesn't really speak English and they've just really kept on to their culture. Being Hispanic, I guess my parents were always go to school, that's what we came here for. And I guess to honor, my mom, it was a really courageous move, right, to come here on a boat from Cuba. So to honor that, I always had in the back of my head, okay, she brought me here, she risked everything to bring me and my sister here from Cuba. I need to make the most out of, the education that the United States can provided for me. I always knew I would want to go to college, and UF was just my top choice at the time. So I'm here now, and I'm really happy I came. it was mostly a Hispanic organization catering to immigrant rights, and it still is, but it's no longer just a Hispanic organization. Over the years, I guess with the new leadership, we've kind of discussed that immigration is not just a Hispanic issue. So we want to, reach out to other communities, especially like the Asian community, the Haitian community, and the Indian community, because they have large populations of immigrants that are mostly undocumented. It's just like kind of the mainstream media puts out the picture that, oh, it's mostly Hispanics affected by this issue, but that's not really the case. So I clearly remember the first time coming into La Casita. I was a freshman, did not know anything about UF, was barely involved in Chispas. It was like, I think I went to my first meeting, which was at the Rights at the time. I wasn't here at La Casita. And I came here for the open house. Immediately when I came into La Casita, I felt welcome. At the door, every time you come in, they're like, welcome to La Casita, and you don't get that anywhere else. So I think we have a really special place here at UF. As years went by, I started meeting more people, so now I just come here to hang out in between classes, to sleep, to study. I hold all my organization meetings in here, so it's definitely, it's a space to come and relax, and also to learn and grow. And I think that it's important to have spaces like La Casita and the Institute of Black Culture, because it's, sometimes you kind of get overwhelmed and you kind of feel, like pushed to the margins, or you don't feel included in a lot of like the spaces at UF because there's a predominantly white population here. So I think these spaces are super important just for students kind of to feel welcome, to kind of de-stress, because I know it could be really stressful sometimes if you have all this workload, you have all these things going on, and on top of that, you don't feel comfortable. So I think it's a great space just to come here, to relax for a little bit, watch a movie with some friends, speak your language, hear your music. So today when I came in, there was reggaeton playing. Like, where can I hear reggaeton anywhere on campus? Nowhere. There was also some spoken word like being displayed through a computer screen. It's like, you come here and you like see these things. It kind of like all came together into one, I don't know, like one big jacket that I just like kind of took on, and it's kind of like your favorite jacket. I don't know if that makes any sense, but so La Casita is like my go-to place like for everything. Mm-hmm. So it just, I don't know, I feel really welcome when I come here.
I am Sarah Camille Awartani. I am 21. I'm a fourth year, so I'm a senior, and I'm studying history. I was born in Gainesville, and especially in regards to like a Latino identity or Latina identity, I didn't really, I had one, but it was something that, I never felt that I needed to prove it, because Gainesville has so many different, people, and we're all really assimilated in Gainesville because of the university. So it wasn't until I came to UF that I felt that people were challenging it and being like, you don't speak Spanish, so you're not really Hispanic. So, I mean, in terms of specific identity, that's shaped it a lot. For me, I think it's important in multiple ways. One, I lived at home as a student, so I had a really hard time making friends. So it was the first place that I felt like I had a community, and it wasn't necessarily because it was Hispanic Latino. It was just because everybody was super inclusive and they didn't care how you spent your time or whatever. They just loved everybody. But then I also think it's important because it gave me an outlet to connect with my identity in a way that didn't have to be defined by maybe the dominant Latino community on campus does. So I don't necessarily have the language skills, and I didn't grow up in a super dominant Hispanic culture. So, I don't know the music or the food or whatever, but I got to connect through history, and I got to empower that identity, and that's really been influential for me. I think there's always the feeling that you're not really, or especially as a history degree, sometimes I feel like what I study is not appreciated. We know we're in this thesis workshop for our honor seminar, and everybody's doing European history, and people are really into it, and then I go up and I'm like, I'm doing, Puerto Ricans in the 1970s and 80s in the US, and nobody is like impressed. So I feel like there's always that need to like validate and prove that like your existence is important and your history is important. So if anything, I think that's what's like the most important for the community on campus. When I came to UF, it literally wasn't until, this is gonna sound bad, but like meeting people from South Florida, because South Florida has such a strong Hispanic community that people kind of take for granted that it's not the same in Gainesville, right? So people will always be like, yeah, you're fake, or how do you not know this? And I'm like, how can you tell me that, Because, I don't know, living in Gainesville, people are just like, oh, cool, you're Puerto Rican. Like, I'm not going to challenge that. So I think that kind of propelled me to make what I'm studying be meaningful. And so it kind of made me connect with history more than I would have, because before that I was like really into environmental history. And I mean, I still am, because I think that that's like related to the realities and that we face in the US and, in developing nations. But, like it totally shifted what I ended up like focusing on in my degree. For the 20th anniversary, we're doing the My Latino Is campaign, and that's kind of inspired by my whole fight with how we should be more inclusive. So it's basically about, like going against this monolithic Latino image where, you speak Spanish and you know all the culture and you might look a certain way, and into like realizing that we have like different racial configurations and different class statuses, and we grew up in different ways, but like that all contributes and it's all valuable, and we should be aware of all those different things. So it's about like, it's meant to allow students to define themselves instead of having society or the institute define themselves for them.
My name's Andrea Ramos. I am 22 years old and I'm originally from Lima, Peru. It's always cool to meet someone who's Peruvian because it's like this unspoken like, yeah. So yeah, it's really fun. I guess for me, I was from Naples, so it's predominantly white. My high school was, I think there was like 3 people in AP who were Hispanic. So that was kind of like, okay. I was just used to that. I didn't think it was different or not, I thought it was just, this is normal. So when I came here, there were like, to me, there were a lot more Hispanic people and a lot more Black people and a lot more Indian people and Asian people. I just saw like so much diversity, but I talked to my friends who were from South Florida and they were like, what are you talking about? And there's like nobody here, like no Hispanics here. And I was just kind of like, oh, really? Like, so it was a reverse type of shock, because most of my friends who are from South Florida, say like, there's, compared to South Florida, there's not that much. But for me, it was completely different. So I feel like as a person, I became more aware of race and just like how it plays a role in society. I didn't really like some of the things I think about now, like I didn't think about before, or some of the things that like I've taken classes where like race was like the topic. I knew what it meant to be Hispanic, like on paper, like check Hispanic. And I mean, I was Hispanic with my family. That sounds weird. I was Hispanic, and with my family, like I saw, our traditions and our culture and just how we were with each other. But it was kind of like I was this way with my family at home, but then at school it was very different because and my friends who were Hispanic didn't speak. I mean, they spoke Spanish, but we just didn't. We just spoke English because we were at school. But here, I just embraced it more. I just now I just love our culture, love everything about it. And I started getting involved with the Hispanic Student Association, and I met more people, and every time I went in, they were like really friendly. So I was like, well, they're not like mean. So and I would go in to do homework and just nap sometimes because that was like really convenient. But then I got really more involved with it the summer of 2011 when I was involved with Gator Mania, which is under the Multicultural and Diversity Affairs. And Eric, who was at the time the director of La Casita, was the advisor for that. So I would meet with him weekly, and we would talk about, things for Gator Mania, and I had like upstairs there's a library area. That's where I would like set up all the stuff for the carnival. So I was there all the time, and I don't know, I just felt connected to it that summer because I was there so much, and then coming back in the fall, it was kind of like, oh, La Casita's there, like obviously I'm gonna go. And then I met more people, and yeah, I don't know, I just, every time I went in, it just felt homey, and I just loved the feeling because it's kind of like being at home with your own family, just kind of lounging, hanging out. That's kind of what I get when I go in there now. I guess for me, like the moments that I'll treasure the most are going to be like the ones that are not planned. So like I said, like when I've just been at La Casita, like, oh, I have an hour to spare, let me just go. And then someone else comes and someone else is there, and then we'll end up playing like or we'll end up like just having like meaningful conversations. And it's like those times that like no one planned it, but you just all ended up taking away from that moment something great. That's what I'm gonna like miss and like cherish, because I don't know, I feel like because we have this space, this is gonna get like cheesy, but like life kind of took its toll and like made these people end up at this place at this given time. And, you know, we took that as an opportunity to just enjoy each other's company or learn from each other, or, you know, just have these moments. So that's what I'm gonna really cherish and take away.